Another Sunday, another case of the Scaries to start your work week. Welcome to the newest edition of the Sunday Scaries, where we have all your gore, lore, and more, covering all the latest horror happenings, slicing open all the latest horror news, and dissecting it bit by bit, finding all those juicy innards. Pour that cup of coffee and turn on your fright light while we take you on a tour of terror. And another week, another busy week on the channel. Still very knee deep in our Evil Dead coverage as we are anticipating the upcoming Evil Dead Rise. But we did have a chance to cover a couple new, well, I covered 2 new releases. Dylan was able to cover 3.
Yeah, it's been a very busy week. I mean, we talked about Renfield, which a lot of
Yeah.
people seem to be very receptive of. That review's doing mighty well for us, so thank you guys. Yeah, that was a good bit of fun. I enjoyed it for what it was. I had a couple of minor gripes, but I think it's a lot of fun, and that's a bang up Nicolas Cage performance.
I mean, you can't beat him. Especially with what we've been through. I mean, boy, does he take us on a ride with Mandy, Color Out of Space, Pig, and now we have Renfield to add to the list. So, I mean, such a wide range. I'm intrigued to see what he's going to do next. I know we covered Long Legs probably,
Hmm.
2 months ago here on the Sunday Scaries.
Yeah.
That one definitely intrigues me. I'm curious to see what he's going to be doing there. I think he's going to be giving us a lot of unique stuff here for years to come.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I got to see the Pope's Exorcist, which was okay, I guess. I was pretty unimpressed. I'm not gonna lie with that movie. It's just these Exorcist movies, man. They're just so paint by numbers. You really just see everything coming from a mile away. I think that Russell Crowe's performance was pretty good. I mean, he's always pretty solid in whatever he's in. So it's not like that was a big surprise for me. And I thought that there was some competent directing behind the camera. I thought that there were some cool shots of gore, and some cool camera tricks here and there, but for the most part, it all just kind of divulges into people going into a deep dark basement and screaming at each other until the demon is accessed. You know what I mean? Like that's just what it always goes to. I didn't spoil anything for you. There's more to it, but it's like not much more. Yeah, so it is what it is.
Yeah, those really follow a basic equation. I had to sit on the sidelines for that one. I could not be coaxed to go into the theater. I still think I'm having a little PTSD from Pray for the Devil after that one. I had my reservations about going to the theater for originally, and then at the last minute decided to go, and still sitting here regretting it. But what can you do? I did check out as well as Dylan. We shifted, which
Mm-hmm.
is Screenbox original coming out on the 18th. So we checked that one. Definitely unique. I mean, again, we've had our issues with it, but you can definitely tell the love behind that. And plus, you can't beat the accessibility of some of these films coming straight to streaming.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Screenbox, they've really hooked us up pretty good, and just the ability to check these things out so early, and just being able to kind of like get our reviews here. It's a privilege in and of itself, and we love it. But yeah, this one for me again, it was okay. I think that overall, the biggest takeaway I had was. Just seeing that this team was able to get their film made and get it out there was a big thing. I do think that there is a good movie in here. I think that the story just needs a little bit more of an expansion and just a little bit more time in the oven. But I still think, if you are interested in independent film, especially independent horror, it's worth checking out.
Yeah, you can definitely tell there is love behind it. We said in a review. I mean, I think it's definitely a great short film. I think as you get extending it to that full length feature, you definitely feel that runtime. And I think maybe things could have been tweaked, but again, Screenbox, they given us what Living with Chucky, which was absolutely great. So many great documentaries on there, and now we have another original film they add to the list. So, it's something you can't beat. Being able to, subscribe to these horror streamers, whether it's Screenbox or Shutter. I mean, there's so many unique things coming to each of these platforms. You get your money's worth.
Oh, absolutely. I think that Screenbox has really been doing a great job of making a name for themselves with these originals. I mean, just every single month they have something new on the table, and it's quite a feat. And I'm not just saying that because they're good to us or whatever, but I do like that a lot. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to talk about Screenbox anymore because we got to talk about their competitor Shutter for the
Yes, we
first
do.
story. So why don't we kick things off here with a director I know we're both very high on. Rebecca McKendry is coming out with a new horror movie called Elevator Game, which you said was an adaptation.
I believe it's a urban legend that is out
Okay.
there. I'm not 100% familiar. I know of the urban legend. I don't know if there's anything maybe more so I'm missing. But I think, kids play this elevator game from what I remember. I think I browsed the article a couple days ago as well. And
Mhm.
I think there's supposed to be some sort of woman on one of the floors or something like that. There was I don't know if you ever watched the TV show Evil. There was kind of an adaptation from the urban legend in one of the episodes there, which was pretty well done. So I think this is what initially caught. I mean, Rebecca McKendry's name, and then saying this is an adaptation to that urban legend really caught my eye as well. So I mean, we checked out Glorious. I think we had a review. Did we, or we did it on the Sunday Scares? I can't remember exactly. It
We
was
reviewed
months
it
ago.
on the Sunday Scaries. Yeah.
And we were both really happy with that one.
Hmm.
Adapting, kind of giving us that H.P. Lovecraft feel. Um, I think that was really well done. So I'm intrigued to see what she's going to do here.
Oh, absolutely. I think that she's definitely somebody to keep an eye out in the horror space, and just filmmaking in general. I mean, she really proved herself with Glorious. I think that she's really great with humor. She's really great with, the visual terrors that she was able to present there. I think that this is really cool to see something that's, a little bit more, I guess, on the traditional side of horror, less of the Lovecraftian kind of, thinking person's horror, where it's more like Glorious kind of was, where they conversate and everything. I'm
Yeah.
curious to see what she does with this kind of urban legend kind of take on it. And it's great to see that she's already got another project coming down the pipeline. I mean, Glorious was what, wasn't it end of the summer, or like July or August last year?
Yeah. Yeah. It
So
wasn't that
yeah,
far off.
she's basically just coming right up on a year after Glorious with another one on Shutter. So she seems to have a good working relationship with them. That's awesome. I'm really happy for her. And yeah, I think we'll definitely check this out. I'd love to see if we could get a hold of this early and get a nice early review out for you guys. Because yeah, I think that she's definitely somebody that we do want to have on the podcast at some point and talk to her about her work, because yeah, she's great.
Yeah, and again, going back to these streaming services, where Glorious was a very claustrophobic film, something where they were in a bathroom for 99% of the actual film, so they were able to kind of keep it probably on a modest budget, and same thing probably for this one, where I mean, I think they're going to open up the world a little bit more here, kind of tell a story with a couple different settings and things, but I think that's a great thing about these screen boxes and shutters is you get these new artists out there that want to create something and you get these modest budgets, but you're able to build these resumes to eventually get your next project. And then it kind of just builds and builds and builds. Again, we reviewed Last Shift and Malum, and we get to see the expansion of the world there. So it's like, I love to see this kind of trajectory that a lot of these new directors are on in the outlets they're getting with Shutter and Screenbox.
Absolutely. Me too. But moving on to our next story, this is a little bit of an older story, something that debuted last week, but it was something where it was obviously last Sunday for us in the States and a few other places was Easter Sunday. So we took the time to spend with the family. So I had to, dredge this one back up from the depths. I wasn't going to let this one go because obviously I'm very high on Ty West's little trilogies got me going on here. With the X trilogy, I know Luke is as well. We had some major casting announcements for X, which was, or MaxXine, I should say, which man, it is quite a cast. So some of the big highlights for me, obviously, would be, and well, both of us would be Kevin Bacon is going to be a part of this, which is great. If you know the channel at all, big Tremors fans, big Kevin Bacon fans. Then we have Giancarlo Esposito, who I love him on The Mandalorian, Better Breaking Bad. I almost said Better Call Saul. I think he pops up in like an episode or two of that.
I think he does.
And then like other great actors like Bobby Carnival. He's great. I've seen him in a ton of like gangster stuff and everything. But even Lily Collins, who she's made her way through a lot of streaming films and a couple of their bigger movies over the years. And one that my wife was very interested to see, because I've got her on the X trilogy, stuff, was Halsey, the singer. She's going to also be a part of this. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, dude. There's a ton of great cast that they added in, even more than what we just mentioned. But I was so excited to see that. And then we were able to follow that up with early this week with them saying that they have begun production. So the film is being shot. Hopefully it's not too long of a turnaround. Maybe there is a chance that we get MaxXine this October. It's slim, but I think that if not then, maybe we'll get it in the spring.
Yeah. I'm highly anticipating this one as well. I'm okay not getting it. Take your time. The idea of having X and then Pearl come out so close together, I think was just such a unique time in its own, where, I'm not expecting that magic again, where I don't want anything rushed here, where we have those first two great films. You don't want to fumble the third. So, for me, I'm all for taking your time and getting this one right. I mean, looking at the juggernauts they're casting here, I mean, this has been such a Mia Goth vehicle. I mean, there were some great performances in throughout both films, but Mia Goth is usually is the standout in these films. So I'm curious to see the talent that we're putting behind this one, to see how she's going to play off of everybody, especially just the new setting here. I'm really curious to see what this one's going to look like as well, because X as well as Pearl both have unique looks to them, cinematography wise. This one, I'm curious to see what kind of feel that's going to be. I love the thought of Kevin Bacon diving back into horror. I mean, we were so excited for They/Them, and that one, didn't really come out to what we had hoped that it would be. I can't wait to see what we're going to do with this one. This one feels like, I don't know if, my head goes to Kevin Bacon as a police officer. So I don't know if that's where we're going to go with it. I always get stuck in that role with him. But I'm curious to see what this is going to be. I really hope we see a darker side to Kevin Bacon. I think Ty West, we talked about, Ty West can bring out great performances in a lot of actors. And when you have both these actors cast in here with Mia Goth, I mean, you can't beat it.
I think him and Giancarlo Esposito are going to be porn producers. I'm just putting it out there right there. I think that they're going to either be rivals, or they're going to be, affiliated somehow in the porn industry. But yeah, I don't count on him being a good guy in this, but I'll eat my words. We'll see. We'll place some bets, but yeah, no, I'm excited for this, man. I think that MaxXine's going to be awesome. I really enjoy this trilogy so far. I really want him to bring it home with this and just have this epic trilogy. And I can't wait for A24 to, inevitably release the A24 shop exclusive 4K trilogy set for $5 million that I'm going to debate about buying when it inevitably drops. Yep, eventually. But yeah, no, definitely exciting. I had to bring this one back up. Definitely here in MaxXine's corner. But the next piece of news, I'm going to let Luke kind of lead us into it here after I intro it, because this is a much bigger story for him. And I don't know if I've admitted it on the show yet, but yeah, Amazon reportedly looking to revive Robocop franchise with potential television series. I've never seen Robocop. So, Luke, go ahead.
You never saw that. You did not see the remake either, did you? Right?
Nope. I have never seen a single thing. I was a Terminator kid.
Okay. You can like both. No, this one, I'm really psyched about this, especially the debacle that we had with that remake. I was very, I guess you'd say, intrigued by the remake, but seeing it, upon its trailer and everything, I was very turned off by it, because it wasn't something that I had wanted. I'm a huge fan of the original RoboCop, and that's always a discussion of, is it horror, is it not horror? I think you can, make a case that it could be horror. Certainly a genre film. There is a lot of gore, so I'm really hoping that they're going to lean into the tone of that very first film, because it is very gory and there's a lot of great practical effects in there. So I'm intrigued to see. As soon as this popped up, I was like, no way, we're discussing RoboCop again. Because I thought this property was going to be dead in the water for a long while, but again, this is another intriguing portion here where, a lot of streaming services are wanting different content, intellectual property, such a big big thing. It's like, oh, this has already been established. So I guess looking at it, I'm not hugely surprised that RoboCop's going to be making a comeback. To say that we're going to be doing a television show as well as a potential television series, or a movie and a television series, I think that is pretty intriguing in itself. To kind of we're doubling down on what we're going to be getting. But I think this could be really interesting. I don't know if we're going to bring Peter Weller back, or it's going to be a whole different revival and retelling of things. But I'm definitely intrigued by this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm interested. I know this is something that I want to get onto. Are the sequels any good as we kind of get into it, or are they worth checking out as well? Or am I more just going to want to go to Paul Verhoeven's original?
I would recommend, if you're looking for a good actual film, just stick with the original. The other two, I'm clouded by nostalgia to tell you to watch them.
Okay.
But I think two is better than three. So if you're gonna stretch it, I would say, okay, if you have the extra time, watch two. But I can honestly tell you, one is something where you carve out 2 hours of your day to actually watch that film.
Awesome. Yeah, and then another thing that kind of caught my eye when looking over this article was that Screenbox does have a documentary coming out, and looking into it, that documentary has been in the making for 5 years. So that's finally going to be coming later this year, which will be pretty cool. So I think I'm probably going to want to check this out before that hits, because I think that's something that I'd love to check out and get a little bit more familiar with, like the Chucky series. I haven't seen every entry, but I still got a lot out of that documentary, Living with Chucky. So I think that if I at least watch the first one, and then, like you said clouding with nostalgia to kind of get you onto those other ones. But hey, you know what? I'm a very nostalgic person myself, so I think that I will probably find enjoyment in them myself. So, I'm looking forward to this. I think this is cool with a series. I know that they announced that there's potentially going to be some films to go along with this with Amazon as well.
Yep.
So I think it's nice. And there's a lot of other MGM properties that are getting the reboot treatment since Amazon acquired them. So it's fun to see that they're taking not just James Bond, but a bunch of other stuff out and out of the toy box and ready to play.
And especially like looking at something like how we had Prey, as we always mention, where it's like, you thought that property was pretty much dead in the water after so many fumbles. And then, it's like it goes to streaming and it's like, well, nope, there is still a lot left in the tank here. So I think Robocop also falls in line with there. I think that's something that is been severely neglected and definitely needed to be dusted off and brought to a modern audience.
Absolutely. But already moving on to our last story of the Sunday Scaries here, something we're very excited about. We're talking about the last voyage of Demeter. Yes, this is very exciting. Andre Overdahl is the director behind this. He did Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I
Yeah.
always want to call it Sunday Scaries to Tell in the Dark. But yeah, which I liked. I thought it was good. It was definitely something I watched after it had come out. But I know you went to the theater and saw that, didn't you?
I did. I went to the theater. It was something that I was very intrigued about. I also own it on 4K. That's how pleased I was with that film. I think it was something, especially at that time, we were, developing something, and I wanted to go to the theater to be inspired by that. And I think it does inspire you, as well as has its own unique voice. When that had come out, Stranger Things has been, a big deal for years upon years. So it's like, how do you make something different? And I think they did it to a good extent with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So, and I plus, you love anthology horror. I mean, you can't beat it. So,
Oh yeah.
I think it was a lot of fun. And then, as soon as I saw this one pop up again, I was like, before I even clicked on the article, knowing the director, that's what initially made me click on it to see. I think this one popped up right as we were going to go see Renfield, right? I think that day, maybe.
Yeah, it came up that day, and I watched it, and I was excited about it. And I think you mentioned it as we were walking into the theater, and
Yep.
I was just like, "Yeah, I'm hoping we see a trailer for it on the big screen," and we did. And it was definitely quite a sight. I'm very, very excited for this. I love that this is Dracula too, is
Yep.
what they're dubbing it. So we get to see a more monsterific looking Dracula. which this just looks amazing. You know me with my nautical horror, which, yes, it's not things coming from the deep and attacking people, but just anything involving wooden ships on giant waves and things like that, and all these horrible things that can happen. You know, I'm down for it, man. I think this looks great. I also I had to do some research, but Andre Overdahl is also the director of The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which
Yes,
I
I
never
haven't
got
seen that.
around to seeing, but I've
A
heard
lot of
nothing
people,
but good
yeah,
things.
and the same thing. I hear a lot of great things about it. So, that was one. Reading this article, I was like, okay, I gotta get around to actually watching that one. But the trailer for this, man, sold me so heavily. It's like you're already looking at Renfield, and that's a different, rendition of Dracula and a different feel, and then you see this thing pop up, and it's got a great feel to it. I love the idea of the setting. It's in a ship, it's like the very, again, claustrophobic feeling, where they're comparing it to something like Alien at Sea there, and I think that's a pretty accurate assessment. And I love, just the concept of these crates of, you don't know what's in them, they're just transporting them, no questions asked, and then one turns out to be Dracula. I love the look here. Definitely a different feel, in something unique and complete. This is, you look at Renfield, that one's a very action. It's got some comedy in it as well as some horror. This one looks like straight up terrifying horror, and I can't wait to be scared.
Oh, I am too. I think this is going to be a fantastic addition to our little, schedule here of horror films to come out. I mean, this is something that I remember I turned to you and I said, I think after next week's Evil Dead Rise, I think this might be my most anticipated horror film of the year.
Yeah.
Just because this really, just that trailer alone scratched so many itches for me. Like, I just think that this looks amazing. I love the tone. I like the cast. I like the way that it's shot. Again, it's on the ocean, so it's already going to get some points there for wigging me out a little bit. But yeah, I like this shit, man. I think that, taking established properties like Dracula and stuff like that, this is the kind of update that I'm looking for. This is the kind of fun stuff that I want to do. And I read here real quick, I forgot to mention this right off the top, but when I initially looked at their article, they did say that this movie is giving us a glimpse of the horror based on the Captain's Log chapter from Bram Stoker's Dracula. So this is just simply a kind of a reinterpretation or adaptation of a chapter from the book.
Okay.
Which I have not read Stoker's Dracula. So it is one that I have in my Amazon card. I do want to order. I did get around to listening to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That is a completely different movie than the Universal, or a completely different story than what Universal made. But I still think that if we get a very faithful adaptation of that, we might be getting it from Guillermo del Toro very soon. That would be one hell of a film.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm so excited to see this. Between this and then, yeah, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein coming out possibly the next year. We got it. It's looking good for our classic monsters here, man.
Yeah.
It's looking real good.
In what a space we're living, it's very lucrative. I would say, where we're getting, you mentioned it in the theater, where we have Renfield, we have this, we're gonna have Nosferatu coming out, and it's like
Mm,
Guillermo's
yeah.
throwing his hat in the ring with these Universal monsters. We're getting the Radio Silence guys doing something potentially with, some sort of Universal monster. Who knows if it's an established property or not? But it's just like, you know, uh, I love that they're getting the spotlight now. It's like, we've done the slashers. Slashers are back in theaters. Perfect. Let's give the Universal monsters their flowers, as they say. So I'm very intrigued to see what this one looks great. I can't wait to see what more properties this spawns off, because I mean, we're here for it. There's so many unique things coming out right now. So many monsters to be hitting theaters. I can't wait.
Oh, I'm right there with you. But yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap us up here for the Sunday Scaries, guys. That's our last story. Pretty jam-packed week. I mean, there were a ton of stories we could have chosen. We just didn't get the chance to get to it. I mean, it's just like we take 1 week off and suddenly the entire can of worms just busts off. I mean, Art the Clown's gonna be apparently in Pete Davidson's new movie,
I saw
Bupkis.
that.
Like, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Obviously people are talking about Shifted coming out, which, we got our review up for that. But then there's also other things like a lot of James Wan properties getting announced. I mean, we're
Yes.
getting a series with The Conjuring. Pennywise is going to be coming to Max next year, so it's like they got an official date for that. There's a Gremlins animated series coming out. We were going to talk about. I mean, just so many stories that hit all at once. I mean, we were talking about it just a few days before recording this. It's like, God damn, like take 1 week off, and it's like this is what we get. So, hey, I'm here to. I love talking about it. We might end up covering some of these stories later on. We got a lot of stuff coming out this week, so
Yeah.
don't hold us to it. But yeah, I mean, just a lot of news, so we may end up recycling some of these stories for next week. We'll just have to see. But yeah, that's gonna wrap us up there. So, Luke, you got any closing thoughts?
No, just you look at the schedule. 2023 shaping up to be another stellar year of horror, as well as 2024. A lot of great stuff coming out. A lot of expansions on already established properties, which don't look horrible. Which is I very surprising. I think we're really hitting the stride in horror. I don't want to speak too soon, but a lot of creative minds are getting their hands on these properties and really trying to expand the lore a little bit, not in a bad way at all. So I'm really intrigued what the next few months are going to hold. I can't wait for another week in the horror community.
Absolutely. Alrighty, guys. So until next time, you can catch us right here. Of course, we got a lot of great stuff coming to you. If you're new here, you're just discovering us, please hit that subscribe button. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers. And yeah, like we said, we got a lot of great content coming. It's Evil Dead week, baby. So we've been putting out reviews. We got a lot of fun Evil Dead videos planned and coming. Some really great stuff surrounding Evil Dead Rise coming as well. It's going to be a very busy and exciting week, and I am here for it. I got my t-shirt today. I'm ready. Let's fucking go. So, alrighty. So until next time, I'm Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.